The barren man. Pauline was a 30-year-old woman with 6 children. It was almost as if she had a child every year or every other year. She was very poor and unemployed. Her husband pushed a handcart for a living, transporting goods for vendors. Pauline was having a very hard life, taking care of the children. One day, she overheard some young girls talking about how they preferred older men because older men took better care of their women. Pauline decided to find an older man for herself. One day, she met Mr. Brown, a single man who was 70 years old. He had no children, and no woman had ever told him she was pregnant for him. Pauline thought this was a great opportunity to start something with Mr. Brown, who had no responsibilities. So, she left the father of her children and went to live with Mr. Brown. However, she would still visit her children's father because she hadn't taken all the kids with her. After living with Mr. Brown for a while, Pauline became pregnant. Mr. Brown was happy. But what Pauline thought she had left behind continued while living with him, having children almost every year. Mr. Brown began to grow suspicious that Pauline was still seeing her children's father. In the 4 years he had known her, she had 3 children, being 70. Mr. Brown was too old to keep up with young children and started having second thoughts about whether he was their father. However, he didn't quarrel with Pauline because he was happy to hear children calling him daddy. The people in the community would gather and talk about Mr. Brown and his sudden fatherhood. Since Pauline and June were neighbors, people often linked their situations together, comparing the first set of children Pauline had to the second set she had with Mr. Brown. They would gossip, saying, "How can a barren man become a father overnight?" and started calling Pauline the miracle maker. Despite the gossip, Mr. Brown was happy with the children and didn't care what people said. He was content to have children who called him daddy. Pauline and Mr. Brown ended up living happily together, with Mr. Brown never questioning whether the kids were his or someone else's.